on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga.
The Latina super diva, and after all this, truly the nicest, most down-to-earth, grounded artist I have met, Gloria Estefan. Oye, thank you so much for being here. Gloria, tell us about, in the video we saw a lot of stuff. What we didn't see was about your new Standards album that's coming out in the fall. Please tell us a little bit about it.
All my life I've loved standards. I grew up listening to Johnny Mathis, to Javier Solís, to all these amazing artists, Trio Los Panchos. This music is, like, to me, incredible, and I always wanted to do it. I chose songs that were very special to me. I did El Día Que Me Quieras, which was the incredible Carlos Gardel. It was our wedding song, Emilio's and my wedding song, and yes, it was. It was the first song we danced to as husband and wife, and I got the big honor to write it in English. It's never been done. I wrote it and recorded it in English, which I think is going to make a killer wedding song. That was my plan.
Now this album is coming out on Sony. You returned to Sony.
I am.
But 2 years ago, you recorded
Miss Little
Havana, and you released that independently via an alliance with Target.
We did.
So what was that like, and why the return to a major label?
Well, again, we had a musical idea that we wanted to do. Pharrell came to me saying that he was interested in doing something like this, and I thought, wow, how exciting to work with Pharrell and do something really cool, different, like dance music again. And it was fantastic, but at the time, we had no record company when we did the record, and then we were just trying out to see what would happen in the studio, if there was chemistry, if it worked, and it worked big time. And then when we were done, we go, well, what do we do with this? We don't have a record company. We tried going to different ones, and we said, you know what, we'll put it out ourselves. We started on iTunes and then Target, which was the exclusive seller at the time, and we still tried to get worldwide distribution. It was a little tough to do that because just timing issues, but now Sony is going to be distributing this worldwide, which is great because my fans really want to be able to buy it wherever they live, and I'm super excited.
When you think of an artist like Gloria Estefan and she says, well, we didn't have a record label at the time, you're like, oh my God. Gloria Estefan didn't have a record label at the time, and she released independently. What would you say to other artists?
You know, the internet has been a blessing and a curse. The curse, we know. A lot of people appropriating your intellectual property without paying for it. But I think that it's important to realize the blessing of the internet, which is that everybody has a voice, and that you can break through even without a record company. You can put your stuff out there, that people can see what you're doing. If it's really good, it's going to take off, like Psy, we saw with that song, like people that on the internet, all of a sudden, they've got millions of hits, and you break out on your own. So it's both good and bad. But I tell you, an artist who's going to make music, is going to write, is going to paint, is going to do everything that artistic people do because of the need to share. And, you know, it'd be great if you got paid for it, but we're certainly not going to stop making music just because it happens to be that the business is not good. So when we decided to embark on the music full time, it was a big decision because our son had been born. He had great health benefits with Bacardi, that he worked with them.
Emilio worked in Bacardi.
Exactly. I worked at the airport as an interpreter for English, Spanish, and French, which was my minor. I studied psychology and communications. I was going to be a doctor. But my music allowed me, I think, to help a few more people than I would have done one-on-one in psychology. I think about that very much when I write my lyrics. I want them to be inspirational, empowering to the people that hear them, because to me, music got me through a lot of really tough moments in my life, and other people's music really helped me. So that was important for that to happen. But, you know, when we made the decision, okay, let's go for the music, we both had careers, and we thought if it doesn't work out, hey, we'll go back to our day jobs. But if we can make a living at what we love the most, which is to make music, then there was no question we were going to do it.
Y Gloria, you were 17 years old when you met Emilio. Yes. And then, of course, you got married, you did Miami Sound Machine. Now, of course, Frank Amadeo.
Yes, Frank.
Were there. manages you, pero pues Emilio and you are like a business entity. And now one of the things that we hear a lot is people saying, never let your husband or your loved one handle your business affairs. But in your case, this has actually been quite a remarkable partnership. So how have you made it work? Why does it work?
You know, people that say that are right. Not in my case, all right?
You're the outlier.
It is not an easy thing to do because imagine, you know, Emilio, my husband and my manager, I couldn't go complain to my husband when my manager was trying to get me to do something I didn't want to do. So it's a little difficult. I think the fact that Emilio and I are very different, we balance each other out. We've never had a disagreement about music or about business. We're very much on the same page, or about values or priorities, which has always been our family. There's no egos involved. I think that's a big clue to the success of our marriage. Neither him or me. It's just never been an issue. We both do it for the love of music. He had a band in Cuba when he was 8 years old, and he loved music as well. For him, music saved him not only emotionally too, but he made some money because he had to, you know, make money for his family. And I'm proud and happy for him. And we support each other every step of the way. But is that usual? No, that's not usual. It's something that we're very fortunate. I think we were destined.
Now, you write in English and Spanish. So what do you see as the differences between the Latin and the mainstream markets? Because you really have navigated both worlds. You're still navigating both worlds. Is it very different now? Like, how does one even get into the mainstream market nowadays? That's
a good question. You tell me. Somebody tell me. Nobody ever knows. There's no formula. I think that if you're thinking as an artist about getting into the mainstream market, you're already doing something that is not right. Because you shouldn't make your music to try to appeal to something that's happening, because if it's happening, you're already too late. You have to be trying to do something on your own that you have to offer the world, and that never includes analyzing what's happening in the market or what's happening anywhere. You really just have to believe in what you're writing, believe that it's you, bring yourself to the mix, and then it's all great. If you succeed, fantastic. If you fail, it doesn't matter because you were honest about it. And yeah, you may fail maybe business-wise or maybe didn't get on the charts, but believe me, that song will reach someone somehow. And now with the internet, you really have a better shot.
How is it easier now to be a crossover artist?
Is it easier?
Or is it harder?
Look, it helps. Obviously, if you can speak 2 languages, you're going to speak to more people. If you can speak 3, even more. Now, having said that, is it easy? I never translate the songs. I always rewrite them from the perspective of the language. I try to capture the same emotion, but I don't try to literally translate because that just doesn't work sometimes. You may not always get that whole world market. We were lucky that the timing was great. We stuck to our guns. You know, we fought hard for what we wanted to do. And Emilio and I were together. We were our own cheerleaders because a lot of people would say, no, this will never work. You're too American for the Latins. You're too Latin for the Americans. This is not going to happen. And we go, yes, it is. We see it. This is our audience here in Miami. We perform these songs and everybody loves them. So we really, having each other helped a lot.
Now, after all these years and after having come, después de haber desarrollado en un momento en el que you sold albums by the millions and millions, and now you're at a time when, well, you know, very few people sell millions of albums.
Millions? How about thousands?
So aside from that obvious fact, like when you go out to promote your album of standards in the fall, what are you going to do differently from what you used to do?
Well, we've always done, obviously, the most important things that we needed to do because time, you can't do it all. But I'm not going to do anything different. I'm going to talk to the same journalists that I now have friendships with because it's been decades that we've been talking to each other. I'm going to be doing some live things. Okay, something I never would have done before, maybe something like QVC that reaches people and you do a live performance and they pre-order things. We're actually going to do a special for PBS that we're filming in May here in Miami, and we will be airing right before it drops because I think that's a great, for their pledge drive. You do what you can to get the word out that the record's there, like we've done. Now, are those days of going on a world tour promoting where the record company foots the bill and you go out there and I would spend 2 months talking nonstop, 12 hours a day. Those days are gone. Record companies don't have the money for it, but now you have the internet. I tweet something and 15 different articles come out using my quotes, exactly what I said. I didn't have to speak to the journalist, and that's fantastic for me because you have more of a handle on what goes out. Nobody's editing you, and all of a sudden people go, if they're following you on Twitter, they make a whole article about it. So that part is helpful. So I just, like always, get the word out and hope that people gravitate to what you've done and that it catches on and that word of mouth is good, because that's always the best, regardless of how much promotion you do. Word of mouth is what's really gonna, people like it. They go, you gotta have this record, you gotta hear this, and that's ultimately, reaching the heart and soul of the people that are listening.
Gloria, thank you. Esto fue maravilloso.
Thank you.
Qué placer, qué treat.
Thank you.
Come shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer.